In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. We're going to be talking today about Generative Engine Optimization, or GEO, which is the next evolution of SEO. And for this inferential walk and maybe a philosophical talk, I've invited a guest named Chad Calimpong, who has a strong background in digital marketing and SEO. And we're going to see if we can uncover some activities for marketers to get involved with now that will make it easier for Chat and Claude and whatever comes up next, make it easier for them to find our content and recommend it to people who are looking for products and services. Chad, welcome to the show.
Hi, Emanuel. Yeah, thanks for the invite, and I'm glad to be here.
Well, good. I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for going on this inferential walk with me. Anything else that you would like to say about your background or what you're into right now?
Yeah, so basically, I've been doing this for over 2 decades, I think. It was primarily a leap into something different for me. I was starting out in graphic design, actually, and then building websites, and that was back in Hawaii, so it was a fun time. And then I said, these sites have to be, found somehow. So that was the beginning of the SEO age back then, very wild west, and so I've been doing that for a couple of years. I work, I've been in-house, I've been in, small agency environments. Now I'm just doing some consulting work, freelance work. So I take on, various clients, in different industries. But it's a fun world. I like it. It's constantly evolving.
Yeah, and now I think this is probably the most dynamic marketing's been in a while. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even today, I was just on, looking at forums and stuff, and boom, there's a different change, a new change, with Google, which everybody knows about. It's always something, and it's you could jump out of your seat and get scared, or you can embrace it. I think you just have to embrace it, really, and evolve with it, adapt if you're in the same field.
For sure. Yeah, I think that is that's a critical part. Is just being aware that it's changing and testing things and being educating yourself, right, to see what's working and what used to work and what's continuing to work.
Exactly.
So the structure of kind of modern SEO, right? We've got keywords, we got long tail keywords, we got latent semantic indexing, we have content that is relevant, and then we have a lot of interlinking and social signals. Anything else that would just at the highest level that you?
Yeah, really. I mean, it's still about, content and relevancy. Obviously you can have a website with all the best practices, but, who's going to want to engage with your site? Who wants to see, what you have to offer, So really that's pretty much all of it, from a, basic standpoint, but really is about, if a tree falls in the forest, anybody can hear it, so, basically if you build a website, can anybody find it? So right. You have the basics, and that's been ongoing for, as long as I've been in the field. So, yeah.
And so with these, I just heard a story from a friend who's also a marketer. He says, like, my client just said they got a prospect from somebody who's doing a Claude search. And he's like, isn't that amazing? I'm like, yeah, that's amazing. That's what this new thing is. It's called GEO. And And so if we start to look at, we say we have these practices that are fundamental to SEO. What sort of kind of bolt-on concepts or narratives do we need to start thinking about for GEO and for the LLMs?
Yeah, I think it's fairly new. So I think the basics have to be there. Whatever the principles of SEO, as it's been defined and as you put together, that still is, the first pillar, I think. You know, that will never go away. And
Okay.
then on top of that, you have artificial intelligence, right? That's really what this new era is of search, and all these chat GPTs, these perplexities, these Geminis, all those names, they're all artificial intelligence, which has been with us for a while.
Sure.
Just now put into the search world, so I think you build upon it by having that foundation and making sure that you then add to it. I mean, a lot of times you look at a website and you read something, whatever information they have, is it an authoritative type of article, or whatever information that you see. So you have to add that authority to that. You have to cite resources. You have to make it compelling as far as its consistency throughout your website, because AIs they're trying to learn from the web. It's a lot of information, right?
Right.
So whether it's Google or Bing or Yahoo, whatever, they're pulling all this information together. And come on, it's artificial intelligence. It's not your brain, right?
Yeah.
You still have to come together and put your brain, your human touch to that information that you put on that content you put on your site. But it can't just be made up. It has to be something that is vetted out there, make sure that you have, if you're the author, you put your bio together there. So if you're like someone like you, Emanuel, you're pretty much out there, and you're kind of like well known, and so you're an authority. So that's that content, right? It wasn't just put together by some intern from high school or college or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, things like that have to be in consideration of the basics that you've already put together.
Yeah, so this idea that I like that where you're going, where you're including the citations and quotes and citations for the quotes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything like on the back end with like the schema or anything like that we need to be paying attention to?
Yeah, well, schema is always going to be important, right? And really, it's just the basic technical SEO aspects have to be there. Schema, OG, or if you're an author, you make sure that you have the author schema. If you have like a menu or recipes, you have that schema. But I don't know if there is anything beyond that really addresses, that special extra beyond schema. Maybe tomorrow there might be.
Yeah, right.
Right now, as long as you have all those back end components down, really the structure of the site, I'll take that back a little bit. A lot of people miss this, the structure of the site, with your headings. And for example, if you're pretty much experienced in the basics of SEO, you have your H1 tags, you have your H2, that has to be a flow that makes total sense, right? Because artificial intelligence is then going to try to find these sites would have these concepts together in an orderly fashion.
Uh-huh.
So if you're really scattered, if maybe your H1 tag is what the title of your website, say it's Emanuel Rose, author, and then you go down and you have like contact me and one of the other tags. I mean, it's sort of breaking it up, right?
Yep.
So you have to understand that those are important components in the back end, so that your content, as these robots or whatever coming to your site, they're starting to understand and put together, this is the story of this site, this is the theme, this is information that I want to present to my, the searcher that's using, my technology. So yeah, I mean, those fundamentals have to exist, but yet not just exist, but exist in a coherent way, in an organized manner.
Right. And so that it also maybe you're leveraging a little bit more outside linking and references, right, to add validity to that piece of content.
Right. But not just, linking to my sister's website,
Right.
really it's, from early stages, I think it's more the high authoritative sites like a Wikipedia or, and obviously you don't want to have a competitive, link to a competitor site, but, informational, if you're talking about, say, here's the stats for incoming visitors to my state, linking to like maybe a page on Statistica, things like that. I mean, it's citing valid, information out there, and that's already been vetted and is considered authoritative. So yeah, I mean, linking to those sources is a critical aspect, but linking to authoritative sources is the key.
Yeah, right. Yeah, high domain authority, right, is what we're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah. And contextual or LSI contextual sources also.
Right.
Yeah. What about where do you see like multimedia as playing an importance in this? Does that have a reference for the AI, do you think?
Yeah, I think you're talking about like as far as on the site
Or
or
yeah, in a piece of content, infographics or video or some other
yeah. I think there's a point there. You just mentioned infographics. It structures in a way that is sort of like very organized. A really nice infographic usually does that, and it's simple. It's obviously also an aspect where it's an image, using a site, or it's a link to a PDF or something, some external thing. I think putting all that together, video, an infographic in itself on a site, multimedia, makes the site more engaging, right? Because the user then can go and see, wow, I can click on this video, learn more, see, some sort of like actionable, like motion, and then the infographic, a simple takeaway, it gives the user the ability to download the PDF, take that away. I mean, it adds to the, the site being, very beneficial to the searcher, and that's what really AI wants. These type of AI tools, and they're trying to find sites that give the user the best information possible, right? Because then you're gonna have another site competing with you doing the same thing, but they lack maybe the multimedia aspect you pointed out, and so that site doesn't get that much of a vote for the AI module or the model or the LLM to therefore take it to the top of the page. If you're using Google, for example, or if you're even using your phone using Gemini.
Yeah, so this idea that it's we have to treat it, number one, as a search engine, and that the AI is going to recall that it sent somebody on that same query to a site, but they came right back or they disappeared, right? And there's no dwell time,
right?
And so then you're going to get discounted the next time that search comes up in that model,
right? And that really is back to the basics, right? That's engagement.
Yeah.
Right. So that's always been there, and whether, Google gives us, all those insights into what works the best, the Google leaks, for example, you have to kind of like decipher that and say, what did they really, find out from those leaks? I mean, but, things like engagement has always been critical because it's like the popularity of anything, right? If you're popular, off stream as you, Emanuel, people will want to like find out what's your next story, what's your next podcast.
Yeah.
If you're like me, I don't do podcasts, so but I am, maybe an authority in another way. If you look on maybe my profile and you say, oh yeah, I know, he's really good at this technical SEO, whatever. So he's kind of an authority on that, so that's what the AI is looking for too, right? So basically, um, the authoritative content is always going to win. And it's then going to be the engagement of people going to that content that's going to win, because that's what the signal is going to, these models.
Yeah, and so what I read too is that it's going to be looking and highlighting content clusters. So interlinking your own content, which is another standard SEO process, right?
Right.
So that you have these bundles of content.
Right. Yeah, and that's really there's the pros and cons, right? Because these bundles of content. So the information that AI in this early stages really, I mean, there's always been this, the information is not really accurate, right? I mean, I'm reading this, where's it coming from? And that's why, I'm using Google for example, maybe they, decided not to pull content from this industry or that industry, and they kind of focus more on like healthcare and, sort of like business, big businesses and, versus, something like, I don't know, travel has been taken out, for example, for some reason. But, the content has been, in the early stages, like very suspect, so because like you said, they're grabbing it from all these different sources, right? And who's to say that these sources are all authoritative or valid?
Right. Oh, I'm tracking now. So the idea too, early on, we saw a lot of hallucinations in answers, right?
Exactly.
And so that makes sense then that in order to be valid and in order to counter that, you've got to have all your sources and citations and grounding that you're a reliable source.
Yeah, and that's what's this next level, right? They're evolving this technology. This next level is looking for more. So this is the geo part of it, right? It's even doing a deeper dive into the content out there, and has, for lack of knowing the exact technology behind it, and it has more of an understanding of what it's supposed to look for, so that it doesn't create, people may have to look up the term hallucinations out there, because it has other meanings too in the dictionary. But but it's almost similar, so they've refined it, and they're even testing. And like I said, I just saw something coming across that they're adding links to some sources now, and they're testing that. So it's if you use Google as your example, they're always testing. It's forever test mode, right? It's always a beta out there. And sometimes they put things out that doesn't quite work, and so people kind of like hesitant. But I like to put out another way to look at it. AI, in that form, yes, it can be very confusing until they refine it. But people use AI too, right? They use their own AI to try to create the content too. So that adds to the mess out there, because you got content that's put together without human thought, I'm going to put a bio of Emanuel Rose. That's going to pick up information all over the place, right?
And maybe even the wrong Emanuel Rose.
Exactly. The wrong name will come up. The wrong person is referenced. So, it's crazy.
Well, okay, so it's still, we accept it. It's still the wild, wild west. Just talk to me a little bit about which are the tools that you like. You mentioned Perplexity. Is that a tool that you're using every day, or what's kind of your everyday stack?
No, I mean, I don't know of all the tools. I mean, there's a bunch of them out there. I use Gemini only because I like to test it on my phone, right? Because there's a different way a phone sort of like kind of like grabs the traffic, right? Because you're walking around with a GPS kind of thing, right? So whereas on the computer you can have a VPN on it, and you want to be like like in a different part of the world sometimes when you search. So I use the AI overviews, that Google search there, which is a form of Bard, I guess they changed, and then it's a form of Gemini actually too. I haven't really tested Perplexity, because if you kind of like start testing everything at once, you wouldn't understand, sometimes, the different nuance of that first one, because it's so new.
Yep.
So, but eventually, I think for those that want to get into the geo part, want to enhance and build upon the SEO basics, you need to test all of these different AI platforms as much as the popular ones that are out there, because there's going to be so much. The competition is high. I mean, everybody's trying to put together some kind of search engine. Even people that think that Google and maybe Bing are the search engines, others are trying to come into the space, right?
Sure. Yep.
So
Okay, so I like that you're focusing on one at a time versus
yes.
trying to flatten them all at the same
Right.
time. Yeah, I gotcha. And then, are there certain newsletters or resources that you're using to stay on top of this GEO concept?
Yeah, I follow, say, it's, plus and minuses as far as, how you look at these, but like Search Engine Land, or, Search Engine Journal, or, Search Engine Roundtable, those kind of places.
Yep.
I think Roundtable is pretty good, because they encompass all the different, you know, platforms or news, services out there about search. But, the caveat there is the information is only as good as, what you can actually apply. Because, you as an SEO, like I, practice, SEO on different, projects I work on, but it's limited as to what you can really do. Sometimes maybe you're in the hotel space, or you're in the financial space, right?
Yep.
So it's different in, different industries, and you apply, I mean, the travel space, easier. There's no limits to a lot of things you can apply.
No compliance.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No compliance is right. Financial space,
Oh.
you've got legalities all over the place.
Right.
So there's different things. So it's going to have limitations as to what even an AI can pull, if they want to pull that, because they
Yes.
could be pulling information that's inappropriate or wrong,
Or illegal, like you're saying.
illegal.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good. So I guess if you were just to give one piece of advice to a marketing manager, what would you say about how to stay on top of GEO?
Yeah, I would think you have to be embracing, the knowledge that this is the next generation, right? So if you, as a company, as a marketing department, digital marketing department, SEO, if you have SEO applied, hopefully you do, you basically say, these are the basics, but you still have to be better at learning all the different aspects of SEO. And then the next layer on the cake, before you like those scandals, basically is geo. Understand what it's doing, where it's coming from, how it impacts your industry. Really, that's what it is. It's not like reading an article and say, wow, it's doing this and that. But how is it going to impact, or is impacting your specific industry? That's what's key, because some of it is like, not really touching you right now, and some of it may be, kind of like grabbing all your information right now. So you're in a competitive space now.
Yeah. Right. No, I liked it. I like how your brain works. You're like you're niche. You can see.
Yeah, no, that's really how you have to go about doing this kind of work, actually.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time in the conversation and your insights, Chad.
Oh, thank
Uh,
you.
if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach out?
Yeah, I don't want to be inundated by geo requests, but yeah. So I have a LinkedIn profile. You can actually just kind of like Google Chad, my first name, and Calimpong. You can see it spelled there. And I think you'll find me. I'm sort of unfortunately listed everywhere, hopefully for good reasons and good content. But so I appreciate you inviting me. It was a great chat. I like talking about this stuff.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to reach out to you again in a few months and see how things have changed out there.
I'm going to tell you, heads up before I go, there's going to be a change, but I'm going to keep it undercover right now. So.
All right. I like it. A little gotcha at the end. Well, hang out and I'll be right back with you, Chad. Thank you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cheers. Well, it's a great episode, a great conversation. The fundamentals of SEO, it sounds like are the most critical part of then being able to overlay the GEO and to stay focused on what's happening in your industry. And thanks for joining Marketing in the Age of AI, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.